this hour, the Senate has just begun voting on whether or not to pass what could be the biggest overhaul of financial regulation since the Great Depression. But in our third story tonight, will the bill in plain terms prevent the kind of wild Wall Street gambling that got us into this mess in the first place? Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell, who will join us in a moment, thinks the bill could be and should be stronger. The vote for cloture already passed earlier today, reaching the threshold of 60 it had failed to attain just yesterday. Republican Senator Scott Brown changing his vote to yay, joined the two Republican senators from Maine and all but two of the Democrats. The vote for passage of the actual bill, as we said, has just begun. President Obama, on the verge of another legislative victory, said the bill creates new consumer protections without being bad for business.
And the reform I sign will not stifle the power of the free market. It will simply bring predictable, responsible, sensible rules into the marketplace. Unless your business model is based on bilking your customers and skirting the law, you should have nothing to fear from this legislation.
As a side note, Senator Tom Harkin tried and failed to get the Senate to vote on an amendment that would limit ATM fees to 50 cents. The problem, according to the Omaha World Herald, may be that some senators have no appreciation for those fees. As Nebraska's Senator Ben Nelson confessed, quoting, "I've never used an ATM, so I don't know what the fees are, but I could learn how to do it just like I've learned to get my own gas, buy groceries. I know about the holograms." Senator Nelson later clarified that by holograms he meant the whole barcode and scanner system, or possibly, Princess Leia and the whole help me Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. Let's bring in, as promised, having just cast her vote on the bill, Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington, who's also a member of the Senate Finance Committee. Thanks for your time tonight, Senator.
Yes, Keith, it's great to be with you.
May I ask how you voted and why?
I voted no, as I did earlier today, because I think this bill needs to be improved. At the heart of this issue is really making sure that derivatives, which cause the collapse of our economy, are properly regulated with exchange trading and clearing. And this bill doesn't quite do that. So I'm going to be advocating for the improvements needed to close those loopholes.
Do you expect the bill to pass anyway, and do you expect to have a second shot at derivatives?
The bill will pass, and it'll go to conference with the House. And so I hope that we will get a second shot in conference to say that when people have a chance to look at the language, to look at how these things can have exemptions, we don't want the exemption to be so big that it becomes the rule. That is to say that you can have thousands of pages about rules, but 2 or 3 pages about exemptions, and then thereby still not having derivatives into the bright light of day, which is where we need them.
Ezra Klein of the Washington Post suggested here last night that as this bill has moved through the amendment process, unlike many reform packages, it has sometimes appeared to grow stronger, with Democrats and even some Republicans responding to general anger among the public over the abuses of Wall Street. Despite your misgivings, despite your vote tonight, would you agree with that assessment, that things gotten stronger rather than weaker?
Well, you know what it is? I think it's things like Dick Durbin, who for 3 years tried to fight the banking industry and finally gave up and said, you know what, they're just stronger than even people here in Congress, and then finally got a vote the other night on that and actually got a change. So, there's some long, hard battles that are related to banking in general that have been strengthened in this bill. But when you look at what brought on the crisis, the fact that we have dark derivative markets that have now turned into a $600 trillion industry, Keith, that is a huge size, and that if we don't get them properly into the transparent marketplace that we need them, we're going to have this situation happen again. So it doesn't really matter if we figure out, okay, well, what's the new consumer entity, or how is the Fed going to handle it, if we don't prevent it from happening with the proper regulation.
I should add here, we're hearing from the floor that Senators Grassley, Brown, Collins, and Snowe have voted yes for this among the Republicans. That's just an incidental fact. It's not something I'm asking for a comment on. But what I would like to know is this. In trying to strike a sense of balance, did the Obama administration fail to get behind measures, including like the ones that you proposed, that would have given the bill more teeth?
Well, I think what you're going to find now that this legislation is passed is everybody's going to have a chance to look at it. That is the manager's amendment, which was a very, big piece of this today. And they'll be able to look and see where the loopholes are. And just as we saw with TARP, TARP was a voluminous bill and had lots of different pieces to it. And so we'll have much time to look at that and have the debate. And hopefully we'll be able to strengthen it and close some of the loopholes that exist.
Senator Maria Cantwell, the Democrat from Washington, as this vote is going on and having rushed over to our cameras after casting her vote, we appreciate the extra effort tonight particularly. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Keith.